everyone, my name is Vina, aka Miss WC Reader, and welcome welcome back to my channel. So for the past few months I kept saying I'm going to film a mid-month wrap-up because it is hard to film an end of the month wrap-up when I have so many books on my TBR. When I feel like it's way too long, like I tend to get less watch time on the super long videos unless it's like a sit-down discussion. And then it's a lot to edit, and then it's just a lot to talk for like 45 minutes to an hour trying to piece that thing together. So I wanted to do a mid-month wrap-up just to make it easier on myself. And last month I tried, but then the footage came out really weird because I was having some lighting issues with my camera where it was looking fine when I filmed it, and then when I would take it to the computer it looked a mess. I think I hopefully got that fixed this time. Everything is looking good, but who knows? You'll see if this one makes it up. But there's just a few books that I wanted to talk about that I've already read. March has kind of been like, I feel like in some ways a slow start, but then also I've actually finished like a decent amount of books, so let's get into it. So y'all know I made my little TBR like I do every month, and I have to say I have not been reading any of the books really in that TBR. I'm just now starting those, so fingers crossed that I get to those and get that TBR completed by the end of the month. But the first book I did finish for the month was The Kiss Countdown by Etta Easton. So at least one of them. And this was a really cute romance. Like, y'all know I've had some struggles in the past with some of the books from Berkeley where they just weren't hitting for me. So I was pleasantly surprised with this one because I honestly did not have much hope. A lot of times Berkeley books kind of die in the middle for me, but they're way too long. This did not have that problem. Like, it was slow burn, but I was fully invested throughout. And I did like a mini, like, separate review. If you want to check that out, I will link it below. But in this one, we are following a woman named Marie, and she's an event planner. Because of some issues, she is now starting her own event planning business, and it's off to a rough start. And she one day goes to her favorite coffee shop, sees her ex-boyfriend there. He's already moved on, and she wants to make it seem like she's doing good too, and lies about moving on. Gets this guy to fake pretend to be her boyfriend, and then she finds out that he is an astronaut and he does need a fake girlfriend to get his family off his back because they're really worried about him with his upcoming moon launch. And like I said, this is slow burn, but it was deliciously slow burn. Like, watching them get together, and I feel like it had just enough depth to it because Amory is dealing with her new job. She's dealing with her mother having these medical bills piling up. She's learning how to just be able to live her life for herself, and there was just a lot that I could relate to in the story. So overall, 5-star. Then I finally finished How We Do It, Black Writers on Craft, Practice, and Skill. So this was by various authors, and this was an interesting craft book in that it wasn't necessarily, like, some of the essays and interviews and stuff, they weren't put together specifically for this craft book. So some things really worked for me and some things did not, because, like, you're pulling from all these different authors and just putting them together, and they weren't necessarily trying to teach authors how to write in some of these interviews. So I was taking notes throughout. It's kind of hard to rate a craft book just because it is so many different voices. I pulled what I needed to, wrote down some great tips that are going to help me with my own writing, and wrote down some names of some authors that I need to check out. And I just have a picture book highlight, Old Clothes for Dinner by Nathalie Alonso. So this was just a really cute picture book about a little girl whose grandmother has recently moved in with them from Cuba, and she tells her she's going to make ropa vieja. Well, this little girl knows that ropa vieja means old clothes, and she's like, we can't be eating old clothes. And then she notices like some of her old clothes have disappeared. So it's just like a fun book of misunderstandings, and just talks about how a food can be named after something that it resembles, but it's not necessarily that. I just thought it was super cute. I can't wait to read it to the kids because they'll have a fun time with it. It's a funny book. Then I read The Monarchs, and I should have a video where I talk about this soon if it's not already up, but the Monarchs was an interesting one. So I knew going in I was not going to love it. This is by Cass Morgan and Daniel Page, by the way. Like, because I had read book one, and there were some things I liked about book one and some things I hated about it, and the stuff I hated continued to carry over. But so far, like, the Monarchs was started out decently. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm liking the vibes with the witches and their sorority. It's a new year. We're gonna see how things are in this new year, or at least it was a new semester. I really can't remember. It got really confusing. Really confusing. Like, by the middle, it was just like starting to feel like word soup. Part of it felt like a retreat of book one, but then parts of it, like, I didn't know what they were going for. Like, it seemed to meander, and then we like threw in some plot, and then we had all these different characters, and they were trying to do twists, and it really didn't make much sense to me. Now, I do understand that this book is IP, which means that the authors did not come up with the concept. It already was thought of for them, and they were just hired to write it. But just like, it wasn't really vibing for me. At least the first book kind of like read like a TV show. This, like, it felt like we were missing pieces, and it wasn't. I didn't love Scarlet as much as I did in the first book. Like, I always hated Vivi. I found her the worst character in book one, but I really liked Scarlet and her storyline. And while she still did carry this one on her back a lot, I wasn't as interested. But I was reading this because I'm currently writing my own YA fantasy that's set at a university, and I thought it would just be like interesting to finally finish up this series and then like just examine how the authors handle writing in third person and how they handle writing the magic and utilizing all these characters. So I was like studying some of that, but there was just a lot that I could not ignore. Then I read The Girl, the Ring, and the Baseball Bat by Camille Gomera Tavares. And this one was one that I actually listened to the audiobook, and I had recently read this author's debut, which was a bunch of short stories in a collection following one family. This one was interesting because it follows 3 different characters, and 2 of them are sisters, and one is like a new friend that they meet. And it's set in New Jersey. I found the reviews very interesting for this one, and definitely like pretty racist. So a lot of white women were reading this one and complaining about all the cursing of the students and how it felt too urban. They're city kids from Jersey. Of course it's going to feel urban. Of course they're going to curse. Kids curse in general, like teens curse a lot. And so that felt very realistic. I like this author's writing style. I felt like the teens in this book felt like real teens. I feel like she had some really good dialogue. I grew up in a Latinx community, so there was just a lot that felt very similar to me and my friends and how we grew up. So I really appreciated that. At times this book did feel like it was set in like the early 2010s. Like, that's, I don't know if that was when the author was a teen, but that's like the vibes I was getting. And other times, like, because there were just a lot of like little references here and there, especially when it came to music and stuff. I mean, I think that's one of my biggest critiques of YA right now, is like a lot of times I will pick up YA contemporary and every song mentioned is a song from my teen years or my childhood, and I'm like, I don't think the kids are regularly listening to this stuff. Like, I really feel like the kids are listening to their current artists. Like, we're seeing what's topping the charts. So, like, I'm confused. But aside from that, one of our main characters is a really smart girl who is trying to get into a good school, and then the school system kind of fails her, so she's fighting back against it. And I thought that was just a really unique, interesting storyline that I don't really read about in books. And then we have another girl who she's just learning about her family and these secrets about them, and looking at her mother and father in a different light. And I found that good as well. And then we follow this boy who is queer, and his mom passed and his dad lives overseas, and he's living with an auntie trying to deal with his new life. And overall, I just felt like she did a really good job because she fused in some magical realism, and that they have these special talisman that give them like powers. And she had some talk about Santeria and just like African spiritualism. And it's hard to describe it because like it's something you really just have to read to understand. But I thought she did really well here. I thought the kids had a great voice, and I'm looking forward to her next book because I do think that she's a really great writer. So that is everything I've read for the month so far. Let me know if any of these sound interesting to you. If you like this video, make sure and hit that like button. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!